Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Wherever you're watching us from, you're here. We're back on the Liberia Radio and Television Network, and we are bringing you episode 6, season 3 of the High Zone. My name is Derek Yale. Again, thank you so much for joining us. If you were last week we went and talked about the vice presidential pick for Ambassador Jose Yemambuaka. This week, we will get into the camp of the CPP. But before I get into that, let me encourage you and ask you to please follow the network on Facebook and YouTube. And also, please do us a favor by sharing the program on your individual social media pages. The network to follow is the Liberia Radio and Television Network, and that is the LRTN Live on Facebook. But before we get into our show, here on the High Zone, there's no gimmick, no fluff, just real talk. We bring you quality discussions on issues relative to politics in Liberia and the diaspora. But before we get into our discussion tonight, let me bring you the current event as we quite often do. Beginning with development in Kenya. A few weeks ago on one of our episodes, we brought a development about the starvation in Kenya, and the religious leader that was linked to that starvation phase was arrested, released, rearrested, and now he faced possible terrorism charges. And moving on to neighboring country Rwanda, unfortunately, 127 people died in a flood in Rwanda, and CNN is reporting that. That happened last week, May 3rd. 127 people died in the flood in Rwanda. That's all we have for you on the international stage. So let come locally, and we would like to highlight this story that has been making round on social media that involve one of Barcelona player or an Ivorian Barcelona player, Frank Yannick Kessie. A Liberian woman by the name of Nancy Payne claimed that the Ivorian Barcelona superstar is a biological son. He plays as a midfielder for La Liga club Barcelona number 19 and the Ivory Coast national team number 8. Madame Payne appeared on OKFM and stated that she bore Kessie and other son by an Ivorian man while living in Sano County in Liberia. According to her, the boys were taken to the Ivory Coast by their father in order to attend school. And since then, she has yet to see her children. So we just like to shine light on that story. The accuracy of it, we do not know, but it deserves to get the attention that it needs to get. So in other development, we will talk about this more tonight as the CPP or Alexander Cummings, the standard bearer of the CPP and ANC. He's narrowing down his choice for vice standard bearer. And some of the names that have been mentioned is Finley, Yala, and Besolo, including the senator from Grand Bassa County, Yombli Kanga. So we will talk more about that. We'll actually have a very lengthy discussion on that later on our show tonight. So stay tuned for that. In other development, the voter registration process is still ongoing in Liberia. So if you haven't yet registered to vote, please do so. But Front Page Africa here is actually bringing development on the voter registration process in relative to kids obtaining, underage kids obtaining voter registration ID. So the biometric voter registration in rural Liberia is raising eyebrows on the credibility of the exercises, as several children will have reportedly successfully registered and obtained their photo for their voting card. So that is not good news for the process. So we hope that the right authority get that taken care of and have the process to be free, fair, and keep the integrity of the elections commissions. But we'll keep this discussion and bring that on to and bring our panelists on where we will get their take on the voter registration process, and they can use this story to give us their take on the voter registration process in Liberia right now. Let me take this time to welcome all of you guys for joining us again on another episode. And for those of you watching us wherever you are, this is the Hot Zone. My name is Derek Yale, and this is episode 6 of the Hot Zone. And as always, I would like to ask you to please follow the network on Facebook and YouTube and leave us your comment and your contribution to this show in the comment section, and we will highlight them as soon as we possibly can. But for now, let me take this opportunity to welcome all of our panelists to this episode, starting with you, Bishop Hager. Welcome to the Hudson, episode 6, season 3.
Well, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here tonight with all the wonderful sons of Liberia. I'm ready to contribute my quota to the show tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bishop Hager. It's a pleasure to always have you here. And let me take this opportunity now to welcome our special guest from last episode, Mr. J. Mawolo. Welcome to another episode of the Hazon.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being back and sitting down here to share some knowledge and wisdom with the astute panelists that we have here. I hope we can learn enough from each other and make Liberia a better place in so doing. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mawolo. It was a pleasure having you here last week, and it's also a pleasure now to have you here as well. Now, let me also welcome Mr. Martin Boda to another episode of the Hazon.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I just want to thank my fellow panelists for being here tonight and hope that we have a fruitful discussion how we can bring our nation forward and have some prospects. Thank you.
Thank you very Ooh. Thank you very much, Mr. Boda. Let me now welcome Reverend Adi. Welcome to another episode, and thank you for joining us.
And greetings to all of you wonderful panelists. It is a privilege to be in your company. Greetings to all Liberians who listen to this. Certainly, we are in the election season, and in passion, we'll discuss our country's future substantively, in fairness, with hope that God will indeed give us a leader after His own heart. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Adi, and let me come down to you, Mr. Ja Winkin Weir. Welcome to another episode of the Hazon, and thank you for being here again.
Okay, thank you, Derek. Thank you, everyone. We are back again to talk about our country. Regardless who is the winner, Liberia is for all of us, so we should talk better Liberia. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Let me bring the current event that I just mentioned on the ongoing voter registration process. So let me just make this very general, so you can talk to us about if you've registered to vote. If you haven't, just talk to us about what you have observed up to this point, and if you would like to encourage those of whom are watching to go and get registered, I'll let them give you the opportunity to do just so. Beginning with Mr. Boda, Mr. Martin Boda, talk to us.
Thank you, Derek. I think the issue I did mention about it the very first time we were on the show at some point when I came from Liberia, and I observed how the process was not being scrutinized to know who is electoral voters they were registering people, and this is coming to light because there's not a criteria set or nothing to identify a resident, whether you age-wise, where you come from, So it's a lot of challenges in the process. But the election commission didn't do themselves a favor the way the process started, and that's going to hurt them, and it's going to hurt the electoral process because there's not much of a yardstick that you have to measure who is 18 or 17. You're just asking a mere question. There's no identity. You don't have anything to verify. There's nothing, no grade record from the school. All of those things that could be plain, or birth certificate, or anything that could identify you in the community. There is not. It's just a mere question asked. How are you at 21? and then okay, where you live, and that's it. So how do you determine that? How do you verify? So
Thank
it's
you.
a challenge for the register. So I don't know how they're going to fix that problem because it's messy. That's all I can
Thank
say.
you for thank you very much, Mr. Boda. And just to put it out there, with given what you just said, do you expect the election to be free and fair come October?
Well, if you have flaw from the beginning, what is it free and fair? Because you got people who are not eligible to vote going to be voting. So that is a flaw.
So should we
So
trust the process?
I don't know if the word free and fair. We're going to have something to elect a leader, but I don't know about free and fair when it comes to because the process is not becoming fair at this time. So how do we be
Uh,
fair at the end?
I'll take that. Thank you, Mr. Boda. Reverend Adi, talk to us about the ongoing voter registration process in Liberia, what you have observed, and also you can speak on the development that we brought up in the current event segment.
Well, certainly, I extend my heartfelt sympathy to the 73 people who lost their lives to a false prophet indoctrination in Kenya. May God comfort the bereaved. As far as the voting process is concerned, all of us are going into these elections with the hope that an overwhelming turnout will defeat every effort to rig these elections. But it's very clear that from the genesis of our going forward for these elections, government started to first um, blow out the census in ways that was shrouded in discrepancies, inflating numbers that are tribally favorable to regionalism of the Southeasterners because the president is from that background. We saw that the research showed that the people in the southeastern region were the one that used more contraceptives than this western part of Liberia, who were able to definitely increase their population. So we see an orchestration of every effort to steal these elections, and it's very sad. We also saw about 7 political parties jointly come together to give a resolution to the Senate regarding those census reports. We saw Mr. Alex Cummings and the CPP took a lawsuit to the Supreme Court, recognizing that you cannot have elections without demarcation or redistricting or reappropriation of the census numbers to reflect who voted in which area. Of course, the Supreme Court threw that out. We see that the NEC is shrouded with the president's close allies and the deputy speaker, I mean, the speaker's girlfriend, and so forth and so on. And then come to find out when the biometric system started, we saw the discrepancies wherein individuals working at those different stations were communicating with Moluba Molu that they should send people to their areas so that they can register them. Not to mention the fact that members of CDC began to intimidate people by going in different districts to intimidate them, for example, that of the Yekekoluba. So we are not surprised if indeed these elections are tainted with corruption, again, as we're living it broad open day before our very eyes. So I will not be surprised. The only hope we have is that Liberians will turn out overwhelmingly and vote. We see in Lofa, the machines are breaking down. We also see in Nima County, certain parts, the machines are broken down. So why? This is orchestrated and committed to stealing these elections, but we are determined to ensure that nobody will compromise the security of our state through these elections as we reject a 1985 repeat. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me stay with you though. Given what you just said though, will you still encourage Liberian to go and be part of the voter registration process? And also in the diaspora here, I've seen or heard some Liberians planning to go back home to get registered to vote. Now, have you done that, or are you thinking about doing that?
You see,
Going
change,
back,
I'm thinking about doing that.
if things change,
I'm thinking about doing that.
you're thinking about doing that. All right, thank you very much, Reverend Addy. Now let me come to you, Mr. J. Mawolo. Talk to us about the ongoing voter registration process in Liberia, and you can feel free to talk about any of the development in the current event.
Well, it's a shame, as far as I'm concerned, that a 200-year-old country is still going through these kind of issues. It's a shame that we're so unpatriotic as a people that we're willing to damage our country for personal aggrandizement, not even caring for the generations to come. I was in Liberia. I went there to register. I did register, and I saw the discrepancies. Now, before I even went, when I heard the election commission people trying to explain, the first thing, there is no way they had scripted to determine whether somebody was 18 or not. So are they telling me that anybody can walk in the store and buy cigarettes in Liberia or buy liquor? Is that how it happens?
Yes, yes.
So anybody can go in a hotel and rent a room. Is that how it happens? But looking at Liberia when I arrived, I mean, you see lawlessness from the airport. So that wasn't strange. And then another thing, there was no scripted way for them to determine whether somebody was a citizen or not. So these two things made me know that there were the election might be free, really free, but fair, no. It will not be. Because
Thank
it seems like the government had no intent of making it fair. They're doing everything to curtail the registration of people. I mean, machines breaking down in area that they wanted to. People don't know how to use the machine in other areas. The papers getting, they're running out of papers in certain areas. And all of this is happening, yet they're adding no time to extend the time for the voters registration. Similarly, with the census, where like Reverend Addis said, the CPP did sue, and I was at the Supreme Court when the Chief Justice said, "Yeah, it was wrong, but what you want us to do? You want us to be the one to go tell the people so they can join the street? Then who will be responsible?" It was the Chief Justice. I left the court because if the Chief Justice, looking at the law and speaking of if she doesn't have to deal with the law,
Mhm.
that was a useless fight. And yes, of course, they threw it out because they
you.
don't want to take responsibility for enforcing the law. And
Right.
so Liberia, Reverend Ade, you're Reverend, you got to pray hard for the country. Because, look, I am telling you,
We certainly do our best to pray for Liberia. It's certainly a shame.
Liberia is really surviving at the mercy, at the
You know, hold on. Let's show
extreme
our key and where we go.
mercy of God. There is no, I mean, the government not even trying to instill law and order. It's the only reason why we have peace in Liberia is because the people want peace. There is no other reason why. Because what is happening in Liberia, most countries in the world, they will be fighting by now. They will be fighting by now. And this government has no intent. They don't want this election to be fair. They're doing everything that it must not be fair. And luckily for them, the Liberian people are not a people who either understand or are willing to stand up for their rights.
Thank you very
So
much,
that's
Mr.
where we are.
J. Thank you very much, Mr. J. Mawolo. I would love to come back to you, but let me take the other panelist. Bishop Hagan, talk to us about the ongoing voter registration process in Liberia, and also you can feel free to talk about any of the current event developments. You're muted.
Reverend, thank you so much, Derek. Reverend Artist spoke. My friend and brother Mauro spoke. I believe they have all said the same thing. But I just wanted like that incompetent, corrupt CDC government to be aware that we have 200 American observers. They went to observe the process. When George Weah came here in America, the government here warned him seriously. There's a room prepared near Charles Taylor in London there. If you try anything with that election, it will be near Charles Taylor there. I'm telling you, that election must be free, it must be fair, it must be transparent. We are observing, we have people on the ground observing the process. If they think they can do any kind of crocodile, let me put it in the Liberian way for them to understand. They are playing with filth. That election will take place. The Liberian people will vote against that incompetent government and they will get their new government that will bring stability and prosperity for the Liberian people. I want to call on all my people. I want to use the platform. I am a 1000% Basso man. If I want to speak Basso to you, you go there for number 4, number 5, number 1, number 2 compound. You go and register. You're registered to vote. You're suffering. I was in Bikini. I saw your children. They can't even go to school. No school fee. Your children sit down there and allow this government to continue to steal the money and don't do anything for you people. You go and vote October 10th. You come up massively and vote against the government. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bishop Hagan. Now let's move to Mr. Jai Winkin. We have talked to us about the ongoing voter registration process in Liberia.
Okay, thank you, Derek. Thank you, fellow panelists. Liberia is for all Liberians. But there is one thing that we're good at: circumventing the rule of law, refusing to learn from mistakes, doing the same thing over and over, thinking that it will bring a different result. I remember fully well that after the war, there was UNDP in place that helped with the demarcation of Monserrado and other part of the country. They created zones, neighborhoods, and food distributions was somehow successful. Occupant homes were known. If we were willing to learn anything, we would have adapted that structure to build on it to improve our system in Liberia. But having said that, Liberians need to make sure that the country is for all Liberians. They should not look up to only those who are in power. They need to recognize also that elections are the only time they have to have voice in their government. After elections, those in power do not listen to them. This is the only time to teach them a lesson that yes, indeed, whoever is elected or appointed is working for you, in line with Article 1 of the Liberian 1986 Constitution. So I would like to encourage all Liberians to take this election seriously. They should not allow people to give them money, to give them better rights, to make false promises to them, particularly those who are in power, the we are government. They had a time, the Liberian people looked up to them thinking that we would have been a different politician. But it turned out that it's one of the worst that we ever had. So my single message is Liberians should think outside the box. They should not vote the usual way. I know I was in Liberia, people who have money, recruiting people from Monserrado, like if you are a representative, if you know all your tribal people in Monrovia, you recruit them to get them in the village to go vote. That is happening. And the reason why we are experiencing all of these things is that we are refusing to adapt a structure. We are refusing to learn from the mistake despite the war that destroyed our country. So I hope this election will be taken seriously. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jai Winkin Wea, and thanks to all of you panelists for your contribution on this opening round, the current event round. But we'll take a very brief break, and when we come back, we will get right into our discussion. But before we do, let me urge the audience to please stay with us until after the break. And also, please do us a favor by sharing this program on your individual social media pages. That is on Facebook and YouTube. The network to follow is the Liberia Radio and Television Network, or LRTN for short, and also LRTN Live on Facebook. My name is Derek Yale, and I will see you after the break.
Maintaining your vehicle can be a major investment. That's why here at Brothers Auto Care, we pride ourselves on providing professional and reliable auto care at affordable rates. Whether you need an inspection, new brakes, or diagnostic reports, our skillful and experienced mechanics are here for you every step of the way. Call Brothers Auto Care now to schedule your next auto maintenance and repair service. At Brothers Auto Care, we help you drive home with peace of mind.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're still here on the Hard Zone. My name is Derek Yale, and you are watching episode 6, season 3 of the Hard Zone. And as promised, we're back here to talk about everything in the CPP camp that has to do with Mr. Alexander Cummings running mate, the standard bearer of the CPP and ANC, is in the process of picking his running mate, and a lot of names have been listed, including that of the senator from Grand Bassa County, Senator Yombli Kanga. So let's have our panelists back on the screen to have this discussion in two parts. We will talk about the speculation surrounding this development, and we will also get into some of the possible names that Mr. Cummings might pick. But before we do that, let me ask those of you watching us to please share the program on your individual social media pages. The network to follow is the Liberia Radio and Television Network, and this is the Horizon Episode 6, Season 3. My name is Derek Yale. Leave us your contribution on this discussion in the comment section. Now, let's get right into it, guys. The CPP and slash ANC is in the process of picking or running mate, and this week we have seen pictures, we've seen stories of Mr. Cummings and his team meeting with the senator from Grand Bassa County, and we have seen lists that included that of Weston Finley and other names. So let's have this discussion. And there are also stories that the Cummings camp did contact already selected Jeremiah Cohn from for the running mate of Ambassador Joseph Yuma Bwaka. So let's talk all about that. I will give you guys the opportunity to give the audience a general overview on what you think of this development, and then we will have the discussion. Uh, we'll have the discussion in a way that we can bring out all of the speculations and maybe some of the facts around that. Let me start with you, Mr. Ja Winkin Weir. Cummings to pick his running mate. Talk to us generally about this development.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. Well, the selection is the responsibility of the standard bearer for a running mate. Um, there are a lot of good Liberians that can be a running mate, a second man in command. I don't know much about the names that are out there about his running mate, but all I can say is that whoever wins the presidency of Liberia, he and his team should fight hard to change what is going on in the country. Mr. Cummings, there was a lot of noise about what happened involving Salif. I don't know whether that information is right or not. I don't think we need anybody to micromanage the governance system of Liberia, as has been reported or alleged. So I want to know, for those of you that are representing Cummings here, whether Cummings is truly independent of himself or he is being controlled by Salif Howard, as has been speculated on the social media and other reports. So what I can say about this is that those whoever will be selected by Cummings is his constitutional responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ja Winkin Weir. Now let me come straight to you, Mr. J. Mawolo. This is the part. This is your party. So talk to us generally about this development, Mr. Cummings. Now I heard unconfirmed date May 13 is when he is going to announce his running mate. Talk to us. Can you confirm that, and also talk to us generally about this development?
Look, it's amazing how Liberian people can make up their own story. They know they lie and then they believe it. It's just so funny. Look, listen. Nobody knows when Cummings is going to announce his VP.
So the May 13 is this fabrication, right?
That fabrication.
Good.
He's keeping it very close to his chest. Nobody knows. Not even the people who vetted the people. They don't know. You see, the procedure is supposed to be very respectable. Now, all those lists of names you say you got, I don't know where you got them from. I don't know who put in those names.
Front page Africa. This is
Yeah,
not my
front page
list.
Africa, they've been
Front
saying
page
a lot of
Africa.
things. Front page Africa, that what, Bible? Listen, I don't believe it. Some of them, you see, look, people guess. They make a calculated guess of things. But you know what's funny to me? They act as if there are just few people in a country of 5 million people that qualify to be anything. Cummings has a wide latitude to choose anybody from anywhere to be his vice standard bearer. Why they limiting it to certain people? That's beyond me. But listen, there's no list that had come out of there. Even the people that were vetted, they were vetted and let go as they eliminated them one by one. But they never called their name. Nobody said anything. Even we, and I'm an official of the CPP, and even we, they didn't tell us. So to say that you got lists and all that kind of stuff, it makes me laugh. Cummings is not going to divulge his vice presidential candidate until he's ready to. Unlike the UP, where the vice president puppeteer went and announced it, we're not going to do that. It's going to be a surprise. It's going to be done when he chooses to get it done. And there are a lot of things that need to be considered. One person that is sure that is on that list since they let her go, or the Unity Party let her go, is Yombly. And she is on there for a particular reason. Because
Is she
Yombly
is she is
Party,
she is she the only person on there?
no.
Who else?
Yombly Party, I said I won't tell you, then you ask me who else.
Also, but you can only reveal the name of Senator Yombly Kanga.
Is the president
He's
being
the only one that is public information
is the
that
president being influenced by Salif?
no. So Yombly being a part of the Liberty Party, which is a collaborating party of the CPP, has a preference for the unity of the Liberty Party. And that's the only reason why it can be divulged. Because she came from on the other side where she went to try her luck and it didn't work, so it can be. But and there will be certain consideration made for that. But the other people that are there are three more people remaining,
Hmm.
and their names are not going to be divulged. And Cummings is going to announce who he wants to announce when.
Okay, but let me stay with you though. On Mr. John Winkin, we are questioned. You said the process is not being influenced by the former president Ellen Johnson Sirleaf.
Yeah.
Now, how would you explain the picture that has been making round on social media that has Cummings, Yomli Kanga, and Ellen in it? How do you explain that?
Look, people, you're ugly. You don't know what can happen right So the person who took the picture, they were in a meeting to what is
I know there has been stories surrounding this. This is just I'm just asking. What is
let me understand this thing. The people
okay?
went to Auckland, then stand meeting, and
Mhm.
when they start taking picture of themselves,
Well, if that's your answer, I will come back to you for more on that development. But let me take okay, let me
oh, it's
take
too funny.
let me take Bishop Hagar. Let me take Bishop Hagar on this discussion. Bishop Hagar, Mr. Cummings is in the process of picking his running mate. Talk to us on what you know about that discussion. Is
Well,
Bishop Hagar.
listen, we all respect Alexander Cummings. He's a Liberian. He actually proved that he's a very smart guy, a guy that is recognized and respected. Coming to this country, America, to make his way through to become whoever he became in the curricular establishment for us as Liberians, me particularly, I really value him, I honor him, I respect him. Um, whatever you want to do to select a candidate, vice presidential candidate, it's his right. That's what you're supposed to do. Uh, we wish you all the best, but yeah, I would say categorically, uh, whoever coming chooses as vice presidential candidate have no bearing on the political calculation in Liberia. Uh, the Liberian people are already resolved, and it's Omen Boaka that is going to be the next
Who
president of
who
Liberia.
made you the spokesperson
So
spokesperson for
for
Liberian
us,
people?
for
Mr.
me,
Mauro,
I really don't want to comment on whoever's comments want to select. He can go
you
select.
said it has no political bearing. Whoever comments pick as
Yes,
running
they
mate.
have no political bearing. I mean, it's not going to happen. The last time he chose the former ambassador, right, that was in America, who was in it? The Solante,
Volunteer.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Solante was his running mate. How much vote Solante brought for him in Bon Cante? Zero. Zero. He thought Solante connection in America and all the kind of stuff and Bon Cante. The people are not going to vote for Cummings. Listen to me. I'm sorry, Mauro, but I was on the ground. And I would not want to repeat myself on this thing. The numbers, he
Well,
doesn't have the number. He's
me
a
and you were there
qualified
the same
competent
time, and that's
Liberian.
not true.
We love him, but he doesn't have the number. I will
Yes,
repeat this.
something I was on the ground. I was there myself 3 weeks ago, and that's not true.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Listen, we can't wait for October. Let's see the numbers and we'll come back on this platform. And I will tell my friend, I will invite you to my church. I will pray for you and say, you do well, but Liberian people want the old man, and that's it. You know?
And
thank you, thank
people
you,
want that
thank you,
job
thank
we
you
had
very
to,
much.
and then they cry in the morning.
Thank you very much, Bishop Hagar. I will come back to you on that statement. I think it's a very powerful and strong statement that whoever coming picks has no political bearing.
That's it.
I'm sure you're including the senator from Grand Bassa County in that statement as well. But for now, let me take Reverend Addy, and then I will come to you, Mr. Boda, next. Talk to us about Cummings picking his running mate. What you know about this process, and what's your take on it?
So what I've heard about the process is that Yombli Kanga is the name that is publicly being thrown around. But what I'm also disappointed is the statement by my friend and brother, Mr. Mawolo, when he stated she went to try her luck on the other side. You know, like that was a bit for me relegating because, she did not go to try her luck and became insignificant. It's the same thing, the same statement that my ANC brothers are making about Jeremiah Coon. And that is why we often stress this opposition unity because clearly the ambassador is the front runner, a formidable contestant to the incumbent. So Yonli is a very much intelligent senator, and she's done some things for her county. So, when you say she went to try her luck on the other side and didn't make it, I think it was a bit relegating for the senator, and quite frankly, if we must win these elections, we have to be careful how we address people. Similar thing they said about Jeremiah Kung, he was a decoy, simply because he wasn't, simply because he did not accept he didn't accept the offer, after some repeated attempts to secure the support of Mr. Johnson by Mr. Cummings' honest contribution, which I would do the same thing if I was running for elections. I will help people so that today or tomorrow my name can be, public and recognized for my good deed, and I can have something to point to. So I wouldn't fault him for that. But, those are the names in the public. I just hope that if it doesn't work, people wouldn't be relegated to decoys or try to luck somewhere else. I think Unity Party remains the party under President Boyka's vision that I see in the second round, if no one carries 51%, that Cummings will be supporting. I'm confident about that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Addy. And I don't know if you have a rebuttal to him, Mr. Jimawolo, but please hold us to it. Hold on 1 second. Let me take Mr. Boda comments real quick, and let me take Mr. Boda comments, and now we'll come to you for your rebuttal. Mr. Boda, talk to us about CPP in the process of picking the vice running mate to Mr. Alexander Cummings. Talk to us.
It's kind of laughable and funny when we see how people are deceptive in politics, especially with our current situation in Liberia. Um, people was the very people around here today talking about Yomli was a simple radical Yomli that she spoiled the CPP because of Boakai. And yet today again we hear Yomi Kanga have become a part, a name that is floating around within the CPP to be vice presidential candidate to Mr. Cummings. And that speaks a lot for us in our politics in Liberia. And if you look at the Cummings, the Boakai camp, and these are the people who are throwing words at each other. And like he rightly said, Cummings want to try her luck. So again, you only have gone on the other side again to try another luck. And maybe this time around, she might have the luck to be selected as VP. And I don't know how would the CPP or the AMC reconcile that. Because he's an official, he's speaking in the rank of that organization, and he knows the in-depth of what within the CPP and the AMC. So, and the selection of vice presidential candidate, I mean, it being politicized in our country. And our country is not run on the idea of a conservative or liberal or some ideological divide that we have in our country. We just floating all over the place because we want to be president. There's nobody talking about any kind of conservative or liberal things that we can say, okay, this is what I support, this is what I don't support. So we don't have that. So it is a free floating community that we have in our politics. So whoever Mr. Cummings picks, that person will be relying on Cummings. So that person might be a support to him, but basically Cummings is the face of that CPP, whoever he picks, that person should be able to deliver for him. But I don't know. So I stop there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boda. And I'll come back to you on some of the things you said, especially about the deception, the deceptive politics you started off on. But let me give Mr. Maolo the opportunity to the rebuttal at Mr. Reverend Addy.
And not only Reverend Ade, but Bishop also, Hager.
Go right ahead.
Listen, I'm one person who just don't give people
Rapid fire.
I'm one person who just don't give people titles just because they're there, right? This whole notion here, the ambassador Boca is the leader of the opposition. Mr. Ambassador Boca got the numbers. What's the empirical data of any of that? None. It's just words, just passing around. I call it propaganda. It seems like you calling something black until it turns black. Listen, it's not true, and let's disabuse our minds of it. Nobody got no numbers. Nobody is the leader. We will know it on October 10 who is the leader. Now, how can the man vice president say he broke? And that guy here was speaking more than the president. The president, I think he's the SB right now. So he said the SB broke for your party. I don't know how you would run a campaign and you broke. So that's one point. But as far as this vice presidential thing, that is the standard bearer's total prerogative. I don't think it's something that's supposed to be, just floated all around, because that people repetition. You keep it close to your chest. You divulge it when you need to. And this thing that in Liberia, where everybody got some news that they don't know about, it reminds me of a poem that I heard a little boy say when I was in school on Rick's. He said, "I stand before you to sit behind you to tell you something I know nothing about." It's what it's what I hear Liberian people do all the time. They always got story. There's one Cummings. They have thrown Gonglo at him. They have thrown Kun at him. They have thrown Yombly at him. They have thrown everybody but the kitchen sink. Listen, Cummings will announce his vice president when he's ready to. and nobody knows it. And for you, Bishop Hager, who say it will have no significance to what will happen because the Liberian people are resolved, I don't know who authorized you to be the spokesperson for Liberian people, but I'm a Liberian man. I never authorized you. So I stopped speaking for the Liberian people when they didn't authorize you. And of course, as far as you're concerned, it will not have significance, but it will, because you will feel the consequence at the ballot box in October 10th. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. J Mawolo, and guys, it's been very. I will
I
give it.
don't
We
think.
have Bishop Hagar. Hold your thoughts. We have exhausted the time for this segment. So we will take a very brief break. When we come back, I promise you, I will start right with you. And yeah, guys, when you're watching us, this is the Hard Zone. My name is Derek Yalla. Let's take a very brief break. When we come back, we will continue our conversation on the CPP running mate process that's ongoing. But for now, let's take a very brief break.
Hi, my name is Theophilus Julipon Nelson I. I am the founder and CEO of Lift Africa LLC. Lift Africa started as an employment agency that has sought the employment of immigrants coming to the US and finding ways and means to be able to start life in this great country. Now we have added airport pickups and drop, car rental, hall rental. As you see, we have a new business location. Started with just a little office part, but today we have a whole complex that we can do a lot of stuff with.
Hello everyone, my name is Geneva Krentz. I'm the Executive Administrator of Uplift Africa. We have an excellent employment rate at our company. We work with and for you regardless of your situation. If you've ever been in prison, maybe your background isn't great, do not worry. We have a place for you here. We believe in equal opportunity for everyone, especially you. So sign up today and begin earning.
My name is Emmanuel B. Horton, Operational Director for Live Africa. Live Africa is the place to be.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're still here watching the Hard Zone on the Liberia Radio and Television Network. My name is Derek Yale, and here we're bringing you episode 6, season 3 of the Hard Zone. You know, here on the Hard Zone, we discuss issues relative to politics in Liberia and the diaspora, and we bring ourselves here as no gimmick, no fluff, just real talk. We bring you concrete and balanced analysis on issues involving Liberia and the forward movement of Liberia. Tonight discussion, we are in the CPP camp discussing the process for Mr. Alexander B. Cummings to pick his running mate. We start off this discussion with our panelists, and we would like to do a continuation of that, beginning with Bishop Hagar. Before we left for the break, I think he wanted to rebuttal what Mr. Jim Mawolo said, so I'll give you the opportunity to do that. And I also have a question for you based on what you said earlier. So, but I'll give you the opportunity to do your rebuttal.
I mean, I already addressed that issue with Mauro. We're not kept on the same
You see, that's
page.
why I'm supposed to do that on the show, not doing the break. But anyways,
I mean, I wish
and-
his band all the best. I just said, and I'll be very clear. Whoever Alexander Cummings selected to be his vice presidential candidate, we wish them the best. But with the 2023 election, the Liberian people have resolved to vote for Omen Boycott, and that's where we are going, and that's the winning team. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you. And that my question is actually around that particular statement based on Mr. Mawolo's comment. He said, when you make that statement, it's just mere propaganda. You have absolutely no data to prove that the Liberian people are already resolved to vote the former ambassador. And also, he said that you're not the spokesperson of the Liberian people. So, would you first like to respond to his challenge that you have no data to prove what you just said? And also, who authorized you to speak for the Liberian people? Talk to us.
Well, first of all, when it comes to data, I don't be here to talk about data. I'm here to let the man know on the ground the reality. You can see it for yourself. I was there. I don't need did
You
it.
interviewed
I
seven
was there.
people.
I saw on the ground. My friend, I just came back from Liberia. Everybody aware I was there. I saw
But how much
the
friends were there?
chemistry of the electoral process. The Liberian people are behind Omen Bwaka. They believe he's the only person prepared and the only person that can defeat the CDC government. For whatever reason, I support them there. I support them in that resolve. I just think that's the best way to go right now. So many factors, so many indicators. But tonight, I want my friend and brother to know we have nothing against the CTP, Arizona Cummings, whoever you're going to select, that's fine. Listen, I'm here tonight to speak as a Liberian. Now, officially, we're in political season. I'm not going to be so. I'm an official sport for the Liberian, but the Liberian, I know I observe the electoral process, the politics taking place. I observe everything. So I have the right to speak on the
Bishop
issue.
Hagar.
As I mentioned about the Liberian people, that's a way of expressing myself politically. Nothing wrong with that.
Okay, so you
Thank you,
agree that propaganda,
Bishop.
right?
Bishop, yeah, I'm about to ask you on that. Do you agree with Mr. Mawolo that this is just propaganda? And to stay with that, you say you were there. You interview from a conversation where you interview seven people. Is that enough to draw a conclusion that the Liberian
No,
people
I
are
did
really
not say
because
7 people. I
okay,
said 70.
you inter-
70
come on, you
people.
interview
Yeah,
70
you
people.
want a journalism. The
Now
journalist is
listen,
going to do 10.
No, but address the propaganda aspect of that statement though. Is that just a
listen.
mere propaganda?
I interview people in Nima, in Bon County, in Margibi, in Moserado. I interview religious people. I interview students. I interview market women, and I came up with what we call sampling of the population. That's how opinion poll are drawn. So I just came to understand all the 700 people. Only one person talk about Alexander Cummings. The rest of the people
Let,
talk about Joseph Walker. So I
let me
came to understand if we're going to take that the
So only
public
Bishop
opinion.
Hagar,
Alexander come here and
Bishop
Joseph
Hagar,
Boga in
let
the
me bring
race.
this conversation over to Mr. Ja Winkin Weir. You were just in Liberia. Mr. Weir, you were just in Liberia. Can you confirm that what Bishop Hagar is saying is accurate, or you went to Liberia? What are you getting out of there? Like, who do you think the Liberian people are most
Well,
likely to pick?
it's inaccurate. If you were to go by people turning out in the street in numbers, that would be we are gangsters. I was in Liberia on one Saturday. Mr. Anderson and I was supposed to meet at 12 in a restaurant. I was driving from Simple Bridge area. It took me nearly 5 hours to reach the Freeport. So I end up disembarking from the car and have the guy who was driving, having the drive to drive, I give him some money to buy gas. And they were banking us stuff, they were doing everything, they pulled a placard, doing everything, everywhere. Stores were forced to close. There was nothing going on. And it was not only that area, every part of Monrovia was down that day. So if you use that as a method to see that whoever show up at this person rally will be the winner, then I will say President Weah will win second term.
So do you
So
agree? Now, given the fact that you just said that is inaccurate, do you agree with Mr. Mawolo that that is just propaganda from Bishop
but
Hagar?
I mean everybody will talk about their Kennedy. Okay, so it doesn't matter. But here is one thing that I can say. Liberians, I think they will learn. Even right now, if any of us have some money and make an announcement on the radio and say, look, I'll get each of the guys meeting out of the car, they're able to show up at this time, they will show up. Because people are suffering in Liberia. If you give them money, if you get anywhere they go, they will say, okay, I'll organize it, but bring this. Once you and CDC have the money, so they give it out, people show up. The same group that show up for CDC, they can show up for any other particular person, provided you have money. So this election, we should not be away by people showing up at rallies. Liberian people will see through the fact, will see through that majority of the people in Liberia are surviving at the mercy of nature. There is nothing for one to say like if I did this, I'm gonna get that. All these people worshiping people who are in power, they don't get hope for anything. If you get money, they worship you. Anything you tell them, they do that. And that trend needs to change. And for those of you that are talking about all the bragging about popularity, but here is the news I got for you guys. My man is in the country right now. We are going to put out, I mean, I'm talking about Tiawanse Gonglo. We are the only campaign that visited almost every territory. There are 134 administrative districts in Liberia.
30 seconds,
Oh, 73.
Mr. We are.
Administrative districts, not electoral districts. You got 73 electoral districts, you got 134 administrative districts.
Mm.
So that's it. 73 electoral districts, Montevideo has 17. But in Liberia, you have 134 administrative districts and 73 electoral districts. So our target was targeting the 134 administrative district, not just the electoral districts.
30 seconds, Mr. We are. Let's stay in the CPP camp tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jawinkin. We are. Let me direct this conversation over to you, Reverend Addy, and you can give us your take on it. Bishop Hager said that the Liberian people are already resolved to vote Mr. Ambassador Boaka and Senator Jeremiah Cohn. Talk to us about that, and also on remaining with Jeremiah Cohn, since we're on the CPP ticket and the CPP fast turnover pick tonight. Now, there are Senator Kun appeared on one of the top talk show in Liberia, stating that CPP had contacted him. Now, my question to you: do you think that United Party picking Jeremiah Kun? Do you think that was a wise decision, or do you think they were lucky to pick him and not have or CPP picking him now? How would you address that?
Well, there is
Like
what I
Oh, that was
the
for Reverend Addy. I'm
oh,
sorry,
oh
Mr.
sorry,
William.
okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, sorry.
well, you see, it's very important that the whole of Liberia was at a standstill, anticipating the frontrunner Joseph Boyka's political decision, and everybody went into a state of ecstasy when he made that decision. It was politically wise and expedient to have chosen him. Why? He represented the true story of his successful Liberian, a youthful gentleman, as visionary as the vision bearer. And clearly, he was sought after by other political party um, leaders. But fortunately for him, he made a sound decision to go with the winning ticket, and it was certainly a great pick. He's a great son of Nimba County, a great son of Sino County, speaks Bassa, Gil, and Minor very fluently. A very successful businessman who has contributed to his county, who elected him as a representative then as a senator because of his contribution to the infrastructure development of Nima County, educationally and medically. So he's certainly a great pick, and we see that he's an independent individual. He spoke on the Spoon Network, commanded by an estimated 10,000 plus human beings watching him. And he clearly spoke to Liberian people concerning the potential to be successful in their own country by looking at business opportunities, breaking down the potential agricultural vision, education, and business opportunities for Liberia. So he was certainly a great pick. On the issue of, Pastor Hager may not know what he's talking because nobody has done an empirical data. I certainly want to remind my friend and brother, Mr. Mawolo, that in 1985, we knew that LAP was going to win those elections. We did not do any polls. Polls are not the only way in which you can gather data. Direct observation, momentum, those are significant means by which you can understand the temperature of the country. Prior to Charles Taylor's election, we saw before he was elected that he had already won. Another thing you ought to pay attention in our Liberian political culture is the names that people give you have a tendency to propel you at the presidency. For example, Joseph Boyka is called Rescue 1, and his vice standard bearer is called Rescue 2. When you look at Mr. Cummings, as intelligent, I love him. I was, quite frankly, hoping he would be number 2, but he didn't want to be number 2 to Mr. Boyka. you would see that they have different names for him: Coca-Cola Boy, Sugar Water Boy. Now, those things don't really represent him because I know he's far better off than that. A man of good intelligence. But those are the political, temperature observations we make. When you look at the Darius Dillon versus T5, my friend and brother said money wins election. That is an example wherein Mr. Dillon beat T5, Thomas Fala, who was spreading money all over the social media, attempting to buy votes. When you also look at President George Weah, who ran against Robert Sirleaf, he didn't use money. Sirleaf used money. He lost the election. So that theory is inapplicable. The temperature of Liberia, based on who wins or not, is determined by direct observation and who's carrying the momentum. And as it stands now, it's clear that Honorable Joseph Boyka carries that momentum. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Thank you very much, Reverend Addy. And I'm sorry for taking you back to what you said first about CPP contacting Con. Now, how would you respond to CPP campaign manager Louis Brown comment that Con was a political pawn? I don't know if I'm using the correct terminology. Uh, some term it as a political strategy for Unity Party to get Con off the hand because of the uh, Prince Johnson factor. How would you respond to that?
Well, quite frankly, it is because of the embarrassment of associating Mr. Kuhn with Prince Johnson. And that is the political argument they're actually trying to make. But the truth remains, they actually pursued Jeremiah Kuhn. And out of his own maturity, he stated that he would not divulge the conversation between him and Mr. Cummings because he respects Mr. Cummings. So do I. But he certainly stated names who pursued him, such as Toga McIntosh, Louis Brown, George Wisner. When Mr. Wisner spoke on Spoon TV, he stated very clearly that he was a political decoy. Well, the last time I checked, if he was a decoy, Prince Johnson coronated Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf to be president of Liberia. The last time I checked, Prince Johnson was the one who coronated George Weah. In the last elections, Mr. Weah had 38% of the votes in the first round, and the Unity Party had 28%. Based on his coalition, he went to 60. The Unity Party came to 38. So now that it is fractured because of Prince Johnson, the NPP, one side is being led by Mr. Bani and the other one by Madam Joel Tillhouse. So clearly you can see what is happening. So Mr. President George Weah is struggling to secure a coalition that will hopefully propel him to victory once more. On the
Thank
other
you.
end, we recognize how
Let me squeeze a
important him
question in.
accounting is for victory.
I'm sorry for interrupting. Let me squeeze a question in real quick. Staying on this political strategy coming from the CPP camp. Now, some say that Unity Party rushed to pick their running mate because they were afraid that CPP would have picked Senator Kuhn for the Nimba County factor. Now, looking back at previous elections, Joseph Boakai announced his running mate in July. In this election, he announced it in May. Does that help the argument that he actually rushed to pick his running mate based on that fear strategy?
Oh, oh, absolutely not. For over a year, people had been very jittery that
So
Liberians certainly are going.
why was the rush?
Oh, there was certainly no rush. The Honorable Boyka took his own time, and because he was the front runner, people were a little nervous that election 6 months away, and they needed to hear from him. And from that very excitement, people gathered at the party headquarters in the rain, waiting for the Honorable Boyka to make that pronouncement. I mean that announcement. So it was not a rush. He was very meticulous. He had vetted a number of people within the party or the coalition, and certainly chose Jeremiah Kuhn. Quite frankly, that selection did lead to some people feeling bad, which is quite frankly a part of politics. So I'm not,
Thank you.
I kind of
Thank you.
empathize with that.
Thank you, Reverend
Yeah.
Adi. Now let me move over to you, Mr. J. Mawolo. I don't know if you have rebuttal to any of the things that were said, but let me ask you this
Yeah,
question
yeah,
though.
yeah. I got
Based,
plenty.
let me ask you this question based on this the comment coming from Louis Brown that Senator Kuhn was used as a pawn or as a strategy to get the Prince Johnson factor off of the CPP hands. How do you agree with that, or what is your take on that? And also talk to us about the CPP considering Senator Yomli Kanga, and give us a rebuttal first, if you would.
Well, the first thing is what Reverend Adi is saying is like you standing in your room in front of the mirror and telling yourself you're the most handsome man in the world without going outside. You know, Adi says he's the front runner. Per who? Second thing, Adi is saying that Joseph Boakai They call him a rescue one, and they call the other one rescue two. Who called them? Unity Party people. And then he moved from over there and say they call Cummings. The CP people call Cummings fixer. You call all the other name that everybody else call him, and you call the name you call yourself. Well, the name that everybody else call your man is the sleeper, and they call the other man human parts seller. Is that what we're going to buy here? Listen, we're not going there. The
A
truth of the
lazy
matter,
argument, very lazy
the,
argument.
the truth of the we're not
Lazy
making no
argument.
argument here. We're talking facts.
You
The
calling
truth
somebody because you're successful, so you're jealous of him, you're calling him a pass seller.
is
You're getting
is
evidence.
successful more than the man who carry.
What?
Is successful more than the man that we will be jealous. That Boca can be jealous of him because he the one broke.
That's what the man say. You're not even respond to that kind of
Listen,
argument because a
okay,
lazy
all
argument. People
right,
that
wait
are
for
jealous
let me
of
deal
people
with
in
the man.
Liberia.
Huh?
I
He
said
said
the
what?
man said a lazy argument that people that are jealous, they can't work, they can't do anything that industrial. The man successful, a young man. You all Liberians need to be celebrating Jeremiah Kun for kind of success instead of coming and fall into kind of rumor, all
But who
kinds of
beating his
things.
success?
What?
Who beating his success?
And that's what you saying? They say that he must
No,
set
we're
up
talking about name calling.
Liberian
Get,
people,
get,
man.
get with the argument here. We're talking about name calling. All right. So, at it, all you're saying is things that people tell the naked emperor who is standing there naked and everybody telling him he got a beautiful gown on. And so you will keep on dragging this old man to his demise. Because, and to focus on your question, Derek, the person that we should be more keen to listening to, because if Louis Brown talk, it can be considered political talk. George Wisner is a personal friend to Jeremiah Kuhn. George Wisner is the one that brought him in, asked him to come to be vetted. All right. George Wisner had been on 2 shows since yesterday, saying exactly the same thing. How they met, what they discussed, what he told him, and he dare how to call the boy Jeremiah Kuhn to come and say it's a lie. You understand? So forget what Louis Brown said. Listen to what George Wisner said. That's his friend. They're neighbors. They talk to each other. They discuss deep political stuff. But George Wisner brought him and told him before he even came that Prince Johnson was going to be an issue because Mr. Cummings will have a problem with that. All right. So this whole thing about Prince Johnson, you see, we don't really care who took who Mr. Boycott took. The people who should care Unity Party people. That in less than 2 weeks he was able to choose his running mate. And they're talking about vetting. What is vetting team? How many people he vetted? You know? So this whole thing here about this old man being wise, this old man being this old man vetted, it's all fabrication and all
It's not.
illusion.
It's not. The chairman of the Unity Party, the USA, was just here with me 2 days ago, and I asked him. It was done properly. It was vetted.
Which one are the chairman? You know that they get
Papa
two
Dwayne.
different
Well,
chairmen?
Bishop Hager, he asked a very
Papa
important
Dwayne.
question. What other candidate were effective for the Unity
But
Party
why should we
last time?
come here and can't tell ANC people everything that went on in the party?
Oh,
No.
yes, careful.
You've already pick a running mate though. So why are you adding the other
No, but
names
he's
that was
They
trying
always
to make up
pick
story.
somebody who
I
are
will
not
not sit here
even
for you to say
there.
that the old man did not bet anybody. It's
again,
a fabrication. It's not it's this. You know Joseph Boaga. This is a very intelligent. The main records are there. You know this man.
Okay, let's deal with the record. What the record? Which record you talking
we
about?
will deal with the record after the break. I just got a notification that we have exhausted the time. Mr. Boda, I didn't forget you. I will pick you first when we come back from the break. But for now, let's take a very brief break. When we come back, we will continue our discussion. Stay tuned. This is the Hard Zone. My name is Derek Yale. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're still here on the Liberia Radio and Television Network. You're watching the Hard Zone, Episode 6, Season 3. My name is Derek Yale, and we are here today discussing the CPP slash ANC fast stand-up barrel process that is ongoing. And we've had a very, very engaging conversation here with our panelists. So we'd like to have a continuation of just that. But before we do, let me encourage all of you again to please share the program on your individual social media pages on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, or whatever you have. And please do us a favor, follow the network, and encourage your friends and family to do the same and also benefit from this program. Let's have our panelists back on the screen, beginning with Mr. Boldad. The question that we left before the break with was the strategy of CPP to get Jeremiah Cohn, that was just recently picked by the Unity Party as vice standard bearer. Some has it that that was a strategy for the CPP to get rid of the Prince Johnson factor. And coming from Louis Brown, it said Senator Cohn was used as a pawn. Now, give us your take on that, Mr. Boda.
Well, I don't know what Mr. Brown mean about pawn, why he was used as a pawn. But what I can say to that is the Jeremiah fighter should be laid to bed now. Jeremiah is not a VP pick for Mr. Buckeye. Now, what we should be thinking about, I mean, what these candidates who going to win elections, what are the strategy, the numbers that they have, the kind of voting support that they have. The VP pick that we said earlier is the prerogative of the president. Who going to the aspiring president needs somebody that he has confidence in, that he can confide in, trust, work with. So those are the things he has to put in his place. Is that person will be working with in line with his policies to implement those things in the Senate and go around and be an ambassador. So I really don't want to do it too much on pick of VP right now. I know but the Liberian people are resolved in who they believe in. It's not the VP. It's not the candidate of VP that you picked. The Liberian people knows they want a president, somebody that they can believe in, they can trust, or they know. Because our politics is not based on ideologies, where you say, this is what I believe in, this is what this person believes in. Everybody is all over, like I said earlier. So we don't know. There's nothing coming. He talk like he want to build Liberia, he want to change the way Liberia politics is being ran. I don't know, he's a conservative or he's a liberal. We don't know. We don't. Boga, it's the same situation. So all we need right now, the common enemy in the Liberian society right now is we are fighting.
Thank you. I'm sorry. So thank you so much, Mr. Martin Boda. And now, let me close this argument and draw the argument back home to the Cummings or vast tender barrel pick. Mr. Jawinking, let me ask you this question though. Now, Mr. Mawolo earlier said that this isn't true, this isn't factual, but again, I will read it as they have it on the front page African newspaper. This CPP campaign is considering Western Finley from, according to the front page African newspaper, or Western Finley, or Sarah Yanti, and one Yala, including and the senator from Grand Bassa County, Senator Yomli Kanga. My question to you, Mr. Ja Winking Weir, which of these names do you think will strengthen the CPP campaign, or which one of them you think will weaken the campaign? Which one of them will pose the greatest threat to unseat President George Manuel Weah? Mr. Ja Winking Weir, talk to us.
Okay, here is one thing that I can say. All the opposition in Liberia, they have one target to get rid of. And that target is President Weah. So, in my opinion, during the first round, because I believe that nobody is going to win 50% plus one in the first round on October 10, 2023. With respect to the listing, I'm not too familiar with them. I don't know their characters. But either of them, especially like Yumbi, is the one I've been hearing about than all of them. She's the only person that everybody talks about. I think if we were to go by a name recognition, she will be better a better pick. Probably because she's popular, or probably because if we were to also go by what people are considering, that if you were to pick somebody as a vice president for the county and that person will go for the county, then it will be she will be the best person. But all in all, in my opinion, whoever goes against Weir, if Weir were to go for the first round, all the opposition political leaders will come together to ensure that Weir becomes a one-time president. That's what I can say about that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Jawinkin. We are now let me come to you, Reverend Adi. Staying with this Yomli Kanga being considered to run as a VP to Mr. Cummings. Now, I saw a story today that a Facebook story that speculated that Yomli rejected the opportunity to go along with Mr. Alexander Kong. Now, let me ask you this question: Do you think? What do you think of Cummings and Yomli going as far as standard bearer and vice standard bearer? Does that pose any threat to the campaign of Jose Yemambuaka and Senator Kong? Reverend Adi.
Sorry, I was a little distracted. Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, I saw a story today that said that Yomli rejected the opportunity to
Yes.
go with. That was a speculation. It's unconfirmed. I haven't got any news from the
No,
senator.
certainly that was not a speculation. That was not a
Let me let me let
speculation.
let,
And
let me finish.
He's so happy. He wanted
Let me
to be
finish.
so much. He can't wait for you
You
to
know the
finish.
funny thing, he had answered my question before.
Ah, yeah.
Well, go right ahead, Remy. I was going to ask you, do you want Senator Kanga to accept the offer without putting threat to your campaign? But go ahead, answer the question the way you choose to. I didn't
certainly,
know what you
Senator
said.
Kanga,
Go ahead.
certainly, listen, right? To tell you that ANCs like CPP got a strategy, right? When they try people and the people reject it, then their whole reaction is to slash and burn, you know, like how Kun rejected the offer. So it becomes, he was a pawn. Now, of course, Mr. Mawula, an insider, unlike me, I'm not much of an insider, but he's an insider. He went to court with Mr. Cummings. And it was stated that Yumbi was given an offer, negotiations were underway. So apparently she's rejected the offer, and that is why he can say she tried her luck over there, it didn't work, then she can't try her luck here. So it's, that's the MO. But we're certainly confident in the reality that Yumbi remains with the senior statesman whose vision, embodies umbrella approach to bringing everybody on board, including Mr. Cummings himself, to make this victory certain. So the truth is, she's rejected the offer, and we're, waiting for the NC to be honest and fair with the Liberian people
For
that
sure.
they did try to pursue her like they did for Mr. Cohn, and he also rejected. But I don't want to be in the business of criticizing, or criticizing double standard, because I'm confident that in the second round, Mr. Cummings, who is committed to joining
But
the
you finished
Honorable
with it,
Bonka.
so just continue.
Allow the man to
Sorry,
say. Allow,
You know,
not,
and
not,
that is why, Derek. That is why I mean, there were some hopefuls that the honorable ambassador would choose Mr. Cummings, and that is why Mr. Cummings delayed at choosing his VP in anticipation that he will be chosen
Wait.
to
Say
run with
that
the old
again.
man.
The
You know?
ambassador was considering choosing Cummings. Is
I
that what you
mean,
just said?
oh yeah. Mr. Cummings, and his surrogates and sympathizers were really hoping that Mr. Boyka would choose him. Originally I've always been a Cummings Boyka ticket, Boyka at the head, Cummings at the bottom. But it didn't work, and which kind of disappointed the former senator who was galvanizing support to pressure Mr. Boyka to the honorable ambassador to choose, Mr. Cummings, but it didn't work. So Mr. Cummings is now has to look for other, personalities to help bring political asset to his party. But I'm certainly hoping that whoever he chooses will represent his vision. But at the end of the day, we're confident that he will join us for a united victory.
You almost distracted me though, but I will draw you back to the Yomli Kanga question. Now, what if, I mean, it's speculation, you say it's factual, but I will stick to the speculation because I haven't gotten any article on that to confirm that she already did rejected the offer. But going along with your story, what if she reconsider her decision to join, and she joined Mr. Cummings to go as a running mate to him? What would that mean for Unity Party?
Well, it will be an interesting race, but make no mistake, we don't believe in wishful thinking. We are very practical and realistic individuals. I don't believe Yumli is going to go with Mr. Cummings. I stand corrected if that happens. I will eat my words. But I'm confident that she knows where her birth string is and will certainly stay with Mr. Ambassador Boyka for us to win to win these elections. She has a very bright political future under the vision of the Honorable Boyka, and I don't think she wants to lose.
What the we
Thank,
put them?
thank, thank you very much, Reverend Adi. Now let me come to you, Mr. Mawola. I'm sure you have rebuttals, but let me ask you
Oh,
this question though. Earlier you mentioned that Yombly is the only name that can be called publicly as being vetted by Mr. Cummings right now. And now there's this speculation out there that she has rejected the offer. Can you confirm if that story is true or it is just mere speculation? And also, can you talk to us? Is other than Yombly Kanga, who else might Cummings consider if she indeed did reject the offer?
you call some name, but before I go there, how many people believe that a Ronaldo comes to Liberia just now and say he's running for president, he will win? We're talking about popularity here, right? When you hear how the Liberian people glorify Ronaldo and they even fighting. The other day, another person stabbed the other person to death because of football game. Any of these guys could come and win election in Liberia because they're more popular than anybody in Liberia, although they never seen them, right? Um, the idea that we call ourselves educated people and sit down and say, well, but how the people can vote, the how we can vote, we don't vote on substance, we can just vote on. It makes us look extremely, extremely stupid. That you call ourselves educated people and we follow the uneducated to do the wrong thing, which got our country running behind still, and we're not moving anywhere, and we still accepting it. 2023, our country is almost 200 years old, and we still saying this in it. Well, that how we can vote, how we can vote all the time has been stupid. It has moved us nowhere. It's breaking our country and our children down. It needs to stop. That should be our argument, and not following the people to do what they did. Now, how many of us here know who they call Sarah Yanti? Any of us know her?
Her
Sir,
name is
sir,
Sarah Unity Beslow.
Yeah.
Sarah Unity, gotta pronounce it the real cool way.
Well, they
Sarah
call it
Unity Beslow.
Unity Beslow. Who? How many of us know her?
I don't know her.
I know her. I know her.
All right. If we're looking for competence in Liberia, that woman is qualified to be president. If we're looking for competence, you understand? But no, in Liberia, they will say, well, hey, we know her. Though she does a lot of work in Liberia, though, but they will say they know her. That's the problem we have. We play around with our future, our lives, and our country, and still expect something good to happen.
That's exactly right.
You got the best minds sitting down. They say they don't know them. Like I ask them all the time, do you know the top most Liberian engineer working outside Liberia? No. Do you know the top most Liberian lawyer working outside? No. Do you know the top most Liberian scientist working outside? No. Oh, but do you know the Liberian footballer? Oh yeah, yeah. They all know. That one popular to them. That's what got us in the mess we're in. And if we keep on playing around, talking about everything else but competence, the same group of people are going to be here tomorrow crying and begging everybody like slaves. And for this, we're ready to fight this election to the end. The popularity thing must stop in this 2023. You see, the good thing about running when you got nothing to lose is because you can stand for something. It's like putting a rich guy in the Senate who got his own money, who don't care about the brown envelope, and can stand up and say what he wants to say on the floor and say to hell with your brown envelope. That person will have a voice. But when they can bribe you all the time, you cannot have a voice. And that's the problem with our country. Keep on taking incompetent people, putting them there, destroying the country, and asking for it to get better. You cannot want to go north and start going south. You will never reach north. And so this whole play that we got around about who popular and who the Liberian people like and who the Liberian people know, we discuss everything but competence. We're ready to discuss competence in this election, and we're ready to fight for a win or lose. Now, as
Thank
far
you,
as the issue with who's
Senator Kanga.
running and who's not, the three people that are left to be vetted will not be divulged until Mr. Cummings does it. They will not be.
Is
So
Mistress Yanti among the three people to
I
be
don't
affected?
know.
You
I
do
don't
not
know.
know.
I don't know. And if I knew, I won't tell you.
So did Senator Kanga reject the
No,
offer?
that's a lie. That's another fallacy again. Kanga is still being vetted, though she has. They gave her first preference because her party is a part of the collaboration. Her party is a part of the collaboration, so she has a little edge over the rest, right? But that depends on what Cummings thinks. Because after the team vet, Cummings has to make that decision
Let
among
me
the people he has. All right.
let me ask you a question on competence and popularity because you stressed that very well. Now, comparing and contrasting between Mistress Yanti and Senator Kanga, who do you
There's
think is more popular?
nothing there to compare.
No, comparing popular and competent. Who is more competent
Yeah,
and who is more popular?
Yombly, name recognition will be there. Yanti, qualification, hands down, there is nothing there to
So
compare.
she is more competent than.
Far,
eh,
far, far by years
Okay, I
more.
said. So if Cummings were to pick Senator Kuhn over that of Mistress
Who?
Yanti, yes, no,
Who?
not Kuhn, not Kuhn or Kanga, Senator Kanga, if you were
I
to
just
pick.
I just told you why. I just told you why Yombly has an edge because her party, Liberty Party, if that's what we will have to do to bring her party together and still the fight in the party, yes, that's what we're gonna do.
So at this point, you would not be picking the more competent person.
At that point, it would be because of political. If it were between the two of them, it will surely be because of political expediency.
Which
It's
brings
not that she's not qualified. Or comparing her to Sarah Yanti, there's no comparison there. And that's the truth.
yeah, I'm a little bothered by the fact that you are pushing an explanation for not picking the more competent person, but you're bashing other
No,
people when they provide
listen, it's
explanation
not
for.
that Yambly. You're asking for two people to be compared. I'm comparing Cummings to Joseph Walker. I say Cummings is more competent. Does that mean Mr. Walker is not competent? No, he is. But he's not at the
But
level of Cummings.
but the
The
the, the,
same
the
way
purpose
with
of my
Sarah Yanti
Mhm.
and Yambly. Yambly is qualified. But when it comes to comparing qualifications, Yanti is far more qualified.
I
Okay?
understand that. Mr. Mawolo, the goal of my question was to establish this competent and popular. You can design your explanation as fine as you want to, but if
Uh-huh.
you pick Yombli Kanga over Miss Yanti, you are picking the more popular person.
No, it will not be for popularity.
Because yes, the
I
thing.
explain to you why.
Yes, the thing. You can the same way you can provide explanation for your pick. Other parties can do the same as
No,
well.
but I'm giving you reason. I'm telling you, it's not popularity.
I understand your reason,
It's not
Mr.
popularity
Mao.
because
I understand your reason,
if
but
it was popularity, if it,
yes,
uh-huh,
my point. I think it's unfair, in my
uh-huh.
opinion, that you will not accept other party explanation for picking the more popular person, but you want to push your explanation and want it to
You
be
keep
accepted.
on saying popular when what I'm saying has nothing to do with her popularity.
You
It has
you
nothing.
talk.
Listen, can
Listen,
I can I
okay.
All
respond
right,
to
go
that,
ahead. Go ahead.
please?
Take for example, right?
Let me
Go ahead.
respond to
Oh,
that, please.
I will give you the opportunity.
Between Yombly and Kun, who is more
Mhm.
popular?
Between Yombly and Kong,
Yeah.
I'll pick Kong, given the size of Nima County.
No, I say who is more popular.
I said Jeremiah Kong.
Jamaica is not more popular than Yombly.
You
He
asked
comes
me a
from a
question
bigger
and I
country,
answered.
but he's not more popular
You
than
asked me a
Yombly.
So let me respond to Mr. Mawul,
let get
please.
Reverend
Uh,
Adi take on this.
You know, Derek, I couldn't appreciate your pursuit in pressing my friend and brother, Mr. Mawul,
mm.
because the explanation he provided contradicted his argument of competence versus popularity. And you were spot on when you challenged him on that. If you're so interested in the national interest of the country, but you chose popularity over competence, but you call it
No, I didn't.
expediency.
Don't
Let me finish,
misconstrue
Mr. Mawulu.
what I said.
Please protect me. Mr. Mawulu, please protect
No,
me.
you can. I can't protect
Please
you while you're
protect
lying
me.
on me. No,
No, I'm
that's
not.
not
You
true.
said if we were to choose Yombri Kanga, we'll choose her because she's in because of the CPP.
Yeah.
Listen, she's not a part of the CPP.
Yes, she
Period.
is.
No, she was expelled.
No, she was not.
Okay, and yes,
She
she
was not.
was. Option that is Mr.
No,
Mao, the
Maolo,
flag,
stop that, brother. I
She
disagree
was
with
not
the
him.
facts are
She
expelled
clear.
from the
exposed for the party.
CPP. She
She
was.
was.
No,
Well,
she
I
was
don't. I
When
dismissed
think
according
I
to
think
from
law,
her
that
they
position.
expose
She
her
I
for
was
the
think
not
that would
party.
take
expelled.
that would take that would take us away from our point here, Mr.
She was
Mao.
Right.
When
dismissed.
So let me respond to Mr. Maolo's sense of patriotism and love for country as
Mhm.
he attempted to condescendingly, say those who are kind of voting for popularity were stupid, and as opposed to competence. But let me remind him though, the
Mhm.
ticket that is currently running as the Joseph and Jeremiah ticket, those prophetic names are certainly shrouded in
Man, stop
competence.
mixing Bible with your politics, though. Prophetic.
let's
No, no, I'm
let's
What
not
made them
protect
mixing
prophetic?
Bible.
let's
I'm
protect
not
Reverend
I'm
Adi.
not mixing Bible with politics.
Or what made them
I'm
prophetic?
not mixing Bible. Jeremiah is a Jewish name. I'm not mixing the two.
Okay.
Okay? So let me be very clear here, my friend and brother Mawolo.
Okay.
The fact remains that ticket is a very competent ticket. And so that is why we don't even bother with arguing competence. For someone who was selected by 4 presidents in your history, was that someone that was born of incompetence yet selected
What?
by Tolbert,
Was
Samuel
what?
K. Doe, Ellen Johnson? Let me finish. I said an individual, Joseph Boyka,
Oh.
selected by 4 presidents in our histoy, 4 presidents
They
in
do
our
what?
history, beginning with William R. Talbot,
They
Samuel
do
K.
what?
Doe, Dr. Amos Sawyer, and Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf.
They
Is
do
that an
what?
individual of incompetence? What did they see in him to select him to serve in the administration? What did Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf see in him to bring him that close to the helm of power? What did she see? Is that incompetence? Jeremiah Koo, on the other hand, is a self-made businessman whose contribution to his district and county spreads far and wide. The pictures are there. His contribution to infrastructure development, to expanding schools like the J.W. Pearson, to building a hospital in the name of his mother and daughter, a 106-bedroom hospital before he became senator to have to turn it over to government. You call that incompetence? Is that a ticket of incompetence? He has spoken like people have listened to him. Did he sound incompetent? No, he
Thank you,
didn't.
thank you,
He
thank
had
you very much.
practical
Thank you very
But,
much.
but,
explanations
but,
as to
but,
how to
We
grow
but
have,
Liberia's
we
Derek,
have,
let me
economy
we
let me
have,
and
we
respond
have,
empower
to
the people.
something he said,
we
please.
have exhausted Mr. Mawolo. We have exhausted the time for
Just
this
give me one
segment.
second, please.
I'll give you 30 seconds.
All right.
30
Go
seconds.
ahead,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Mawuro. Rapid fire.
Daddy, what I
Yes,
was
sir.
saying about competence got nothing to do with
Uh-huh.
your party. Secondly, what I got no problem with Jeremiah Kuhn. But one, his issue with his letting himself be controlled by Prince Johnson.
That's a
Prince
fallacy.
Johnson, Prince Johnson, out of the question, I got no problem with Jeremiah Kuhn. He can stand for himself. You understand?
That is a
I
propaganda,
am
sir.
proud.
That's
Listen, I am proud of the young man for pulling himself up by his own bootstraps. That's a thing the young people in Liberia need to know. I am very comfortable with that. All right. Now, what I was talking about got nothing to do with your party. And the issue of Yombly comparing, you can have two competent people, but one is more. Okay? You were comparing Yombly to Sarah Yanti. I said there's no comparison there.
Well, you
That
said, you
Yombly
said
is
Mr.
not
Shanti is way.
competent.
You said there is no comparison there, but Mr. Shanti is way more
Yes,
qualified
he
than
is
her.
way more.
Way more
That's what
competent.
I mean. There's no
But
comparison
then
there.
you drew a comparison right there. When you say one person is way more competent than the other, that is a comparison.
But listen, an engineer who have built a bridge, who
Mhm.
built the George Washington Bridge, and the engineer who built Rawafi Highway, can you compare them? They call both of the engineer. Can you compare them? No. That's the same thing here. Do
Well,
you know who Sarah?
the point
You say you
that,
don't
that
know who
Mr.
Sarah
Mawuro, that
Yanti
is not
is.
the
I
same
will,
thing.
Mr. Mawolo, I
You
will
say
close.
you don't know who. Listen,
Let me
let me
close.
finish this.
I
You
gave you
say you
30
don't know who
seconds.
Sarah Yanti is.
But
I'll
Sarah
give you 30
Yanti is
seconds.
the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations.
Competence.
Okay?
Competence.
In Nepal.
No, she's left
The
from
In
Nepal.
point,
Nepal.
Mr.
She's not in
Oh
Mawolo,
Nepal
really? Okay.
anymore.
Mr. Mawolo, the simple explanation here is if you're preaching the politics of competence, pick Mrs. Yanti. It's that simple.
I would
It-
if it were me.
okay, well,
If it was
let,
up to if you left it to me, I
mhm.
would take her win or lose.
But because
If
of
it
political strategies, you need
if
numbers, so
it
you go with Young
if
Kanga.
it's about
Let
but
let
political
he is not the
strategy,
one that
that's a
making the
different thing.
decision.
no but he's the one here preaching competence and popularity.
I'm
That's why I draw the
pushing for
question.
That is
competence
belief.
because that's what we should be
I
voting
understand that,
for.
Mister. But again, guys, we have exhausted the time. I would love to give you more time to talk about that, and I will give you that
Mhm.
during the closing remarks segment. But for now, let's take a very brief break. When we come back, we will
Thank
bring
you.
you the closing remark from our panelists. Thank you.
What is you talking about, bro? King Cairo. Yeah, yo. Yeah, yo.
You said what?
I got you. Yeah, yo, yeah. Yeah, yo, yeah. Hectine. Pull up with the whole squad. Fetch a fly from Dubai. Hectine. Baby, look in my eye. Baby, look in my eye. Hectine. Watch me in your cinema. I ain't got time cause you better bet minimum. Tell me what you really on. We are all silicon. Every time I roll, I let them know what I'm rolling on. Cause I'm the
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're still here on the Liberia Region Television Network. My name is Derek Alley, and here we're bringing you episode 6, season 3 of the Horizon. And here tonight we have a roundtable discussion on the CPP pen running make the CPP Vice Center Bearer process that is ongoing. Mr. Alexander Cummings is currently in the process of picking his running mate. Some of the names that we have heard: Senator Yomli Kanga and Weston God Finley and Sarah Yanti. So we have our panelists here that are given their position on that, what they think, what that ticket will mean for the Liberian people. They have compared the names that have been listed and how that will affect Mr. Cummings' campaign. For now, let's get their closing remarks, and then we will bring you the icebreaker round, and then we'll bring you on that announcement and draw the curtain to this episode. Guys, guys, it has been a very, 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 very interesting conversation here. We've seen you guys establish your points. You've made your argument for your political persuasion. So now it's time for you to look back on all of the things we've talked about and give us your closing remark. I would like to start with you, Mr. Martin Boda. Talk to us and give us your closing remark on this episode tonight.
You're muted.
It's,
Have some calculations, and that calculation depend on where you got to reach vote populations and how that person will play to give you that victory so that you can get your team solidified. And that is where we're at today. So it's not that people who running the candidates that are running are not competent or the people they're making doing selection for. So my brother was making some point in regards to competent, and he mentioned the Yanti woman, who is a very competent person. But he kind of alluded to the fact that Cummings at a high point where he know his name Yombly. Yombly has his supporters that is splitting the CPP or the LAP, whatever, the LeBron, like a Brunskin party that Yombly represent as leader. So Cummings needs a rich vote. He can't deny the fact. So it's politics that we say you have to play some high play and you play some low play. So to tell my brother, the competent we want, we all want it, but for expedient, you want it to win the elections. And to do so, you have to find those that can give you that elections. So we're not disputing the fact that we don't need competence, but those elections are come with price.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Martin Boda. Let me come to you now, Mr. Jawinkin Weir, and give us your closing remark on this episode.
okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. Fellow Liberians, our problem in Liberia is not a question of somebody is rich, somebody is poor, or someone is popular. Our problem has been not wanting to abide by the rules of law, to making sure that everyone has a fighting chance, to making sure to identify that John Brown needs to do this to get this. What we have been doing, for which we are the oldest in Africa, and lacking behind in everything is because we vote for somebody we know, maybe on tribe, or experience or popularity. But here is what I can tell you. Ask yourself, all that we have been doing, how has it benefited you? Our survival is at the mercy of nature. You leave the home, you don't know where you are going, but you believe that you will get something somehow. But we need something to fight for. We need something that will make us to fight. Fighting not mean force, but ideas that will compete, that we will know what we are competing for. So that when you qualify, you're going to get it. Not because you know John Brown or Peter Paul. There is only one Kennedy. He is not popular, as you may think. He doesn't have money, but he has the character to change what we have lacking for over almost 200 years now we're going to. And that man that can change Liberia, that we're all been waiting for, is still, I won't say Gonglo. So I ask you, he's the blue man in this election. He doesn't have money, but he will be the one to give you the opportunity to reach, to make Liberians, to build roads, to be engineering, to be mechanic, to be whatever you want to be by using your resources to train you, to give you more opportunity. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ja Winkin Weir, and actually to those of you watching, I would like to apologize because we're supposed to have or do the icebreaker segment before we get into the closing remark. But we have taken Mr. Boda and Mr. Ja Winkin Weir closing remark already. But if you guys don't mind, I would like to like pivot over to doing the icebreaker round. Just get you guys comment on the icebreaker round, and then after that, I will get Reverend Addy and Mr. J Mawolo or closing remark. So for the icebreaker round tonight, we have knowing that this month is National Mental Health Awareness Month. The question we have for the icebreaker round: do you think Liberia society creates a safe space to discuss its traumatic past? What are some ways we can change this? So the question again is given that this month is Mental Health Awareness Month, do you guys think that the Liberia society creates a safe space to discuss its traumatic past? And what are some ways we can change this? Let me start with you, Mr. Reverend Addy. Talk to us. May is National Mental Health Awareness Month. Do you think we have that safe space to talk about issue relative to mental health in Liberia, and also what are some ways you think we can change that?
Well,
I'm
since
sorry
the
for
Civil
putting
War, we've been
I'm sorry for putting you on the spot. Go ahead.
no, I'm fine with that. I said since the Civil War, we've been attempting to create a safe space through which we can, discuss the trauma of our past, and that is why we have the TRC, as a medium by which, or a platform by which people can go and testify, and hopefully we can have some type of healing through what we call it transitional justice. But while that is true, as a way of reconciliation, our politics should be fostering unification. Unfortunately, there are still elements in our society or individuals who are still hurt, and at times will be very brutal at calling people murderer, this, that, and the other. But all of that is part of the traumatic experience. People are still trying to heal, and then that's how they're communicating. But Liberia certainly remains a safe space where we can discuss, while at the same time reconciling our differences from the wars of the past.
Thank you very much, Reverend Addy. Now let's come to you real quick, Mr. Boda. Do you think this Mental Health Awareness Month? Do you think Liberia provides a safe space for us to talk about traumatic events from the civil crisis? And what are some ways you think we can change that?
Well, some of the things that we can do to achieve that is to have a positive discussion about our past, to address the issue, have an open mind, talk about what happened honestly, because we need to reconcile the hurt, and also to do that we have to express what hurts me, and those that are involved in the process, we ought to be honest with the Liberian people and make an honest apology. Those are the reconciliation. Those are the process. Because we can't just say, "Oh, this happened. We don't want to talk about it because we're being hurt." No, it has to be talked about. And when we discuss, we kind of release that tension. So that brings us to at least to recognize where we are and where we're going.
Thank you.
So it's important that we discuss the mental health and discuss our past. It's very important to do so, but not do it constructively. Not in the arena where we are today, because if it's a time you want to gain some popularity or some votes, and you start to bash your friend, then you're not going to have that reconciliation. You're just going to flame the fire. So that's why we need to be careful how we talk about it. So yeah, we shouldn't just talk about it when it comes to political arena.
Thank
But
you very
have
much.
a conversation. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boda. Let me come to you very briefly, Mr. Jay Mawolo. Talk to us about the issue, maybe in the National Mental Health Awareness Month. Talk to us about the issue of Liberia, whether we have a safe space to talk about post civil crisis traumatic events, and also what can we do to change that?
Well, listen, in my own view, I don't know if post war crisis and all of that, I don't know if it's even worth the while now. Because when you see that the war has ended 20 years ago, I would think that that solution should have been implemented in the first 5 years or so after the war stopped. But it did not. I think the effort should be put right now on the young people who are gone to another level of it, and I think you can use them as examples to talk to those who still are traumatized one way or the other. But to discuss and deal with the trauma of the war and all that, the after effects, is a very expensive thing. And the government will have to put uh, uh, intentional efforts in providing the money and the training to help with that training. I suggested several years back that the government make the School of Psychology and Sociology free at the university so that the children who go there can have an option to work with the government 2 years after they graduate to help people with mental issues. They didn't do it until late where they made the tuition so-called free. But I don't know if they're putting the effort, concerted effort in training people who should be qualified to deal with the mental illnesses that we have, because like here they will notice you for every move you make. Over there people don't. And so when you got more trained people in the society, where you can have so many of them that maybe one to every 100 people, you will have a means of curtailing some of the issues that escalate to other levels, especially now that we have the drug business. So there are a couple of things that will have to be done. Hey, you have to train the people, but then you also have to close the border, man the borders and stop the drug inflow. And then you have to put safe places where you can keep them to detoxify the drug addicts and de-traumatize their minds before you put them back out into society. So it's going to be a very expensive effort, but the government will have to do it because that's what we have to do for our children and our people to make them sane again. And
Thank you very much.
I think the money will be necessary.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mawolo. Now let's take you very quickly on this subject matter. Mr. Jawin Weir.
Here is the truth. The young generation of today, for the majority, they never experienced the war, but they feel the impact of it. So the first thing we need to do is to begin to accept responsibility if we did something wrong, the acknowledgement of wrong. You barely see Liberians saying, I'm wrong, sorry. Everybody is arguing. For a typical example, if I were passing, if you were sitting in the chair passing, if you stretch your foot, if I were to hit your foot, if I say, hey, if you were to tell me, say, oh, John, again, you hit my foot, the first thing I would say, oh, why you put your foot on the roof for? I would never say sorry. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you. And that is the kind of caution. Even if you were to go in the market, in the ministry. So The world left that attitude of people arguing. People don't recognize them if they wrong somebody. People feel so big to apologize to anybody if they did anything wrong. It's across the board. Even if you were to ride on a taxi, on the bus, everywhere I went, I tried all of that. Liberian are just argumentative. Liberian, we just refusing to say, oh, sorry, I don't mean to do so. But if I hate you, I'm sorry. I think we should start from there. Recognizing if we hire somebody to tell them, sorry, you don't mean to do so. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ja Winkin. We are now. Let's pivot back right into our discussion. Let me take Reverend Adi now for your closing remark on the discussion tonight. Reverend Adi.
Well, thank you, my fellow Liberians, and thank you to our wonderful and esteemed panelists. Such a great conversation as always. Liberia is at a very crucial juncture. Come October 10 in electing somebody that will lead us fulfill the dreams and aspirations of our future. I'd like to encourage all of you to do your best, register, and vote. Don't be discouraged in spite of all of these discrepancies. Make a decision concerning your future. I often argue that prosperity over, I mean, that patriotism over individualism and nationalism over tribalism. It is important for us to make that decision because our nation awaits us, and we, the young people, will be deciding those elections 18 through 35, 36. Make that decision concerning your life. Don't wait for the bag of rice. 6 years of eating bag of rice in the moment. That's a long time to suffer. Make a decision for schools and good health and good roads and agriculture, amongst several other benefits, not just for us, but for our children unborn. Thank you for Joseph Boyka and Jeremiah Kuhn. God bless.
Thank you very much, Reverend Adi, for your contribution here tonight and on every other episode that you've appeared on. And the same goes to you, Mr. Ja Winkin, we are and Mr. Martin Boda. But for now, let me take again our special guest from last episode and thank you for making another appearance here. Let me take you last and give us your closing remark on this episode tonight.
Okay, thank you, and I want to thank all our esteemed panelists here tonight for the intellectual exchange. Listen, let me make one thing clear before I go on. I don't know who Mr. Cummings is going to choose. I don't know who the three are that he's going to choose amongst. So our discussions were hypothetical. I don't want nobody leaving from here and say, "Oh, John said Sarah Yanti or this and that." No, I didn't say that.
I think you know.
Okay.
I don't know who it is. I said hypothetically, if I was going to be the one to choose, I would choose Sarah Yanti over anybody. Okay. So that being clear. Now, as far as the way we vote and what I said about competence, yes, I think. How did we get Judge Weir? That's what I was talking about. How did we get Judge Weir? Popularity. Based on nothing else, popularity. That's how we got in the trouble we're in.
Sorry, guys.
You understand? We gotta be more concerned about how our life is gonna be after the fact. After all the the hoopla about the elections, what's gonna happen to us? What's gonna happen to our children? You see, I was in Liberia a few months ago, and a month ago, in fact, I said to them, if you don't choose right, nothing's going to happen to me.
That's correct.
My children are fine. I come from America to come here for you. It's not for me. I don't need a job. But I come here for you. I want to advise you to do the right thing for you because I hate to see you in this condition. You understand? And if we all care about our people enough, instead of following them, we need to encourage them in the best way to vote for people and stop choosing anybody for anything. You know why they're always talking about second round? It's because there are too many people in the race. Too many people who not qualified to do anything in the race. Why do they come there? Why do they even accept them? What are the criterion to even be accepted? You understand? We play with ourselves too much. And that's what I'm saying when I'm talking about competence. Let the Liberian people care enough for their children. Even if you don't care about yourself, care about your children and care about their future. So that before we vote, it's not about who gave you rice or who went and graded the road in front of your house. It's about who's able to move this country forward. And when this country is moving forward, all of us will do well. All of us will do well. I remember, I think most of us here are old enough to remember when they had so many companies in Liberia, people who come from Sierra Leone, Ghana, Nigeria, everywhere to look for jobs in Liberia. It can happen again. It can happen again. But we got to start to vote for the right kind of people, the most competent people to set up the enabling of environment for our country to strive. And until we do that, our people will continue to get worse and worse and worse. As we can see with the drug issue, as we can see with the extreme poverty, as we can see with the complete waywardness of our own people. You enter the airport and you start seeing the dysfunction straight away. I
That's
mean,
right.
it's so clear. It's like you seeing it in your face. So I just want to thank all of us, and I want to appeal to our people in Liberia. This election is not about who you like, who you don't like. Look for competence, because that's what will give you food tomorrow on your
Yeah.
table. That's what will take care of your children. And I will urge you to vote for Mr. Alexander Cummings and whoever else he chooses for his vice. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Thank you very much, Mr. J. Mawolo, and thanks for your contribution on this episode and the last one. And Reverend Adi, Mr. Jai Winkin Weir, and Mr. Martin Buddha, thank you all of you for your contribution.
All right.
We will take a very brief break. When we come back, we will be with our panelists and bring you the announcement and draw the curtain to this episode. Thank you.
All right.
Good night.
At Fatu's, we know what it's like to feel a little homesick. That's why we work hard to bring you the very best and freshest imported foods and supplies from home. With quality design African cloths, beauty supplies, and tasty African food items, you'll feel right at home. So what are you waiting for? Stop by Fatu's African International Market for all of your household and family needs. See you soon.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for staying with us. You're here on the Liberia Radio Television Network, bringing you episode 6, season 3 of the High Zone. And thank you for staying with us throughout our discussion. But before we let go of you, we will bring you two announcements, and then we will draw the curtain to this episode. Announcement First announcement we have for you is the Friends of Tiawan Gonglo, presidential hopeful in Liberia, is organizing a dinner scheduled for Saturday, May 13, 2023, time 6 p.m. And this network, the Liberia Radio and Television Network, will be there to cover that event. That is the dinner organized for Councillor Tiawon Gonglo. Again, the time is at 6 p.m. The date is May 13, 2023. And the address is 7201 Elmwood Avenue, Philadelphia, PA 19142. Now, the admission prices are as follow. Ordinary is $50, patron is $100, and special guest is $200. Again, the Liberia Radio and Television Network will be there to cover that event for you. So if you can't make it, follow the network and you will have live coverage of everything happening at that dinner. Moving on to our next announcement. This is from the Unibois, the PA chapter is hosting a Memorial Day cookout on May 27th, 28th, and 29th between the hours of 10:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. is on 5900 Springfield Avenue, Philadelphia, PA. And the number to call to get more information on that on this event is 610-333-3635. Let me call that number again. 610-333-3635. Again, that is Uniboard Memorial Day Weekend Cookout, May 27th, 28th, and 29th between 10:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. That's all we have for you in our announcement folder. My name is Derek Yale, and thank you again for being here for another episode of the High Zone. Until next time, have a pleasant week.
What is you talking about, bro? King Cairo. Yeah, yo, yo. Yeah, yo, yo.
You said what?
I got you. Yeah, yo, yo, yeah. Yeah, yo, yo, yeah. Hectine. Pull up with the whole squad. Fetch a fly from Dubai. Hectine. Baby, look in my eye. Baby, look in my eye. Hectine. Say I love you, but mama, papa. Hectine. Yeah, yo, yo, yeah. Yeah, yo, yo, yeah. Hectine. Pull up with the whole squad. Fetch a fly from Dubai. Hectine. Baby, look in my eye. Baby, look in my eye. Hectine. Say I love you, but mama, papa. Hectine. Cinema, watch me in your cinema. I ain't got time cause you better bet minimum. Tell me what you really on, we are all silicon. Every time I roll, I let them know what I'm rolling on. Cause I'm the man in your mirror, the man in your method, the man in your bathroom, oh your makeup. The older, the sicker, the bigger, the better. The more light shine, the more light, the brighter. Man, I'm tryna put you on to a few things. Let your homegirl know I'm your boo thing. If I write you a song, would you ever sing? If I'm going for a life, would you wait for me? If I even had a twin, would you even choose me? If your eyes on me, would you look at me? Would you ever be the one to roll a murder for me? Yeah, yo, yo, yeah. Yeah, yo, yo, yeah.